It is the year 1964, and only the waves have remained unchanged in our changing world. It is the year of our living. All the events of the past and present push us on in their great tide. It is a time of problem and crisis, and the truest words are those of one who never lived to see this day.
For it is the fate of this generation to live with a struggle we did not start, in a world we did not make. But the pressures of life are not always distributed by choice, and while no nation has ever faced such a challenge, no nation has ever been so ready to seize the burden and the glory of freedom. And in this high endeavor, may God watch over the United States of America.
During the next hour, we will look at some aspects of our American life. Our focus is America, our accomplishments, but more important, our challenges. We shall speak only of ourselves, for it is a time for introspection. We speak only of America, the most powerful nation in the Western world. For we too are part of the Saga of Western Man. It is the year 1964. This is our world, and we have conquered it. We have climbed the highest mountain. We have achieved power, awesome power. We have probed the universe and will go deeper among the stars. We have learned to travel faster than sound. We have made the sky our element. We can deny to gravity its primordial control over bulk and weight. We have solved most of the mysteries of the earth. We make ever wider use of the natural elements. We build with greater economy of effort and speed. We have mastered the secret of growth. Crops are larger per acre. Each year we grow enough to feed 1 billion people an adequate diet. We are rich, richer than anyone has ever been, richer beyond the dreams of Croesus. Like gods, we whiz across our world. Speed has changed our concepts of time. Who thinks that only 50 years ago we were mostly a nation of small towns and farms? America is like a great futuristic painting full of light and movement and contrasts. And America probably is the shape of things to come. The whole world strains to reach our affluence. Only 50 years ago, light was man's most prized possession. Today, more than 1.5 million light bulbs outline the main street of Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the gambling capital of America. Here all games of chance are legal. They're controlled by law. Man and woman may court fickle fortune in numberless ways and for almost any amount. Modern mechanics provide new ways to make the gamble quick, convenient, and in all ways efficient. It is a great game, and each year we spend $4 billion in gambling in the state of Nevada alone. And that's more than we spend for all medical research in the nation. So the wheels spin, the dice rattle and fall, the cards are dealt. The amounts are staggering, but we seem to have money for everything. Just listen. Each year we spend almost $8 billion for tobacco, $2 billion just for jewelry and watches. Every year we spend $3 billion only for cosmetics, $17 billion for automobiles, $4 billion for travel. Who has ever been richer? Who could ever afford more? No wonder we bet on a number or a card. The amount we bet is unbelievable. The Commissioner of Internal Revenue estimates that each year we spend more than $33 billion on gambling, and that is more than we spend on all education, grade school, high school, college, university, public and private, in all of the United States. In fact, there are more bookies in America than physicians and surgeons. Gambling, legal and illegal, is a flourishing business, and it could only exist on this scale in a society with the Midas touch. Yet, for all the nation's know-how, wealth and power, the President of the United States tells us that 20% of the population live in poverty. Their dwellings blight the greatest cities like nightmares out of the worst of our past. In places such as these, they live and die, and for all the slum clearances in America, 1 house in 6 is still substandard.
The water's pouring down on the tenants, the rats is eating the food up, the toilet doesn't flush, there's no steam, no hot water.
I would like to move. Right now I need things for my kids, but I can't get them, because I don't make that much. I mean, I goes off to myself and I cries, but can't do anything about it.
Poverty is not the problem of the city alone. All through the country there are pockets of poor. Wherever there once was an industry or a resource that man has learned to do without or perform better elsewhere, there you will find them. This is a coal town which no longer mines coal.
Two-thirds of the people are unemployed, and the other third is making from $5 to $10 a day. They would like to send their kids to school and buy them proper clothes and feed them, but most of the time they don't even have the money, 20 cents to even feed the kids their lunch money.
% of the labor force in America cannot find work, and we cannot seem to lessen their number. Among Negroes, the percentage of unemployed is twice as high, 12%. The unemployed run the gamut of the labor force, age group, and experience.
I'll take any kind of work regardless. If I can't find what I feel I'm qualified to do, I'll take anything, because I still got to maintain a home and a family. You're just too young to retire, too old to get a job.
I don't have savings left because I've been using them, and we're just almost down and out.
In our land of plenty, more than 6 million people have an income so low that they receive a government dole of food, lard, flour, and rice. This distribution scarcely makes a dent in the nation's yearly production. These people are not indolent, only jobless.
My wife is every day saying, what shall we do? And my son comes home from school, or the minute he sees me, he asks me, Daddy, what we gonna do?
Of all nations, ours is the most generous. We pay high taxes. We donate to more causes. And yet, with all our brains and money, we have not yet succeeded in bringing this 20% of our people into our affluent world. Who would ever have thought of a nation which spent $22 billion every year just to go on vacation? Which spend $3 billion every year just for resort accommodations? Whose expenditures for sporting equipment, suntan lotions, and beachwear would exceed the total outlay of the Roman Empire for public works in its richest era? Whose expenses to fill the idle hours of leisure support a whole series of industries? It is a stupendous canvas that we have filled, crowded with light, shadowed with darkness, for all these wonders are ours in 1964, and the poor are still with us. Speed is the keynote of our life, wheels our instrument, and silence has disappeared from our world. There are 66 million cars in America, almost 3.5 million miles of road. No one knows what we spend to control traffic. Antennae probe the sky, which are also crowded. More than 2,000 airliners, 84,000 private and smaller planes, 8,000 airports and landing fields. Air traffic control scans the airways 24 hours a day to direct, to shift, to move, to manipulate this mammoth air fleet. Never have we traveled so much, so fast, so often. Every year, 64 million Americans travel more than 20 billion miles by air, and that is equivalent to more than 45,000 round trips to the moon. Our Air Force is the fastest in the world, for we have conquered speed. Faster, larger planes are on the way. There seems to be no limit. During the last 15 years, we have increased our speed of travel more than in the total prior history of all mankind. But it is a fact that it takes man less time to get into outer space than it does to get home from the office. We created the machine, and the machine creates these wonders. Thanks to the machine, today we can pour more metal, build more cars, assemble more airplanes, and twist more bobby pins than ever before, and for less money and less effort. But if we have created the machine, there is a question as to who is master. The economic competition of modern life drives man to build more and better machines which do the work of more and more men. It is estimated that every week 20,000 jobs are lost to machines that do them better. But no one has yet fully answered the riddle of what we do with the man. And each year fewer of us work for ourselves and more join large corporations. We have created machines that calculate, machines that file, machines that remember, machines that correlate, integrate, extrapolate, and all with the speed of light. This enables us to keep better records. It also makes it essential to keep records. In this nation, 1 trillion sheets of paper are filed and stored by Americans every year at a cost of about $10 billion. Speed breeds change and obsolescence. Never have we changed the objects of our daily living as frequently or so regularly. A Conestoga wagon lasted a lifetime. We keep our car about 3 years. By the time it is 7 years old, it is on the way to the graveyard. Our society is based upon maximum production. We buy almost 7 million cars each year. It is our key industry, and 1 out of every 7 workers in America is somehow connected with it. It is a measure of our immense wealth that in 1 year we crush as many old cars as we built 5 years before. In our age, it is cheaper to throw away than to repair or even to keep. Take the B-47s, an excellent airplane. They're jet-propelled, they travel 600 miles per hour, they're easily refueled in the air, they cost almost $2 million apiece. But they have been superseded. We have built faster planes, and then there are missiles. And to think that just 60 years ago, the Wright brothers made the very first flight. Their rickety box of a ship struggled, finally rose, and flew all of 120 feet. The Air Force reclaims a great deal from the condemned plane. It salvages spare parts, the motors, the radios, the instruments. The shell itself yields about $5,000 worth of metal. It is not only speed which has decreed these planes to obsolescence. We have devised newer and more ingenious instruments of war. In fact, in our great progress, we shower obsolescence on all manner of things, but strangely enough, not on the idea of war itself. Obsolescence touches all things, even towns. Once small towns were the backbone of America. There we had good neighbors. There we had deep roots. There we had an identity with land and sky. There we knew who we were. This is Campbell, Texas, but there are thousands of dying towns all over the country.
I came here in 1900. And Carmel was quite a little town then. It had a college and it had lots of buildings and lots of businesses. It's changed quite a bit. It's not like it used to be.
20 years ago, we had a population of 1,200 people. Today, our population is 428. They love this town. They'd like to stay here. But there's no jobs.
A century ago, 65% of all Americans lived and worked the farms. By 1980, only 5% will still be there. Our age, which makes cars, planes, and places obsolete, also leaves its imprint upon people. Our old people seem ever more shunted from the mainstream of life. They no longer receive the traditional respect of age. We are a youth-centered society. It is a strange irony. Our great advance in medicine makes longer age possible, and we do not know how to use the added years. In America today, 18 million men and women are over 65. Most are retired, though not all by choice.
People at 65 or even a little older, if they're well, can do a great deal. And they're usually so glad to be occupied that they do their best, while the younger people are just thinking about getting the money. And the older people are glad to work.
More and more of our aged go into institutions. Institutions offer a form of community. They offer care.
A few little foolishnesses. I'm good at mending, but not at sewing. No, I'm not handy in alteration or changing anything like that. I'm not handy in that.
And she wants me to finish.
We move away from places. Families separate, they disperse. No longer do grandparents, parents, and children live close to each other, help each other. But it is a long succession of days, and there is not much to mark one from another. Birthdays and anniversaries are different only when the people about you make them so. Perhaps it is better never to have had anyone than to be alone. Or is that cowardly? And is everyone truly expected always to be brave? The years have passed so swiftly. It is not a tragedy to grow old, merely to be lonely. The over 65 group grows by 1,000 every day. By 1970, there will be 25 million. The population grows, the competition for jobs becomes sharper. Sociologists look to reducing the compulsory retirement age to 60, 55, even 50. Those who are financially comfortable try to fill the days as pleasantly as possible. They call this place Leisure World. It happens to be in California, but there are many others all through the warmer states. It is a community designed for older people. They buy a home here, they pay monthly installments, and the compound furnishes almost all their needs. There are planned activities. Boredom is the constant danger of old age. It is hard for normally active people suddenly to stop. There are medical facilities immediately available. One of the terrors of old age is the ever-increasing need for medical care and the enormous expense. In these communities, medical care is always at hand, and it is included in the monthly installment. It is pleasant, even gay, but it is a separate society. The older people of America are more and more outside all our lives. We turn from them, with love perhaps, but turn away, and to our great loss. Behold our youth. They are the healthiest, the wealthiest, the most numerous in our history. For the first time, almost one-half our population is under 21. Industry thrives on the likes and dislikes of our multitude of minors. They have more lipsticks, more cars, more record players than ever before. They have more clothes, and whether they realize it or not, they have more future problems. They are the inheritors of our world, the first generation born in the age of nuclear power, explosive automation, and the Cold War. They go to school for longer years and in ever greater numbers. Universal education is our goal, but it is still a fact that schools in poor communities offer less education than the prosperous, and that overall, Negroes have less educational opportunities than whites. We have not yet achieved our ideal of equal educational opportunities for all. It is one of the marks of our great change that men still alive and vigorous can remember when the one-room schoolhouse was adequate to the needs of most of America. There are still more than 13,000 one-room schoolhouses scattered throughout the nation. This one is in Letcher County, a poor region in Kentucky. The school has no running water.
I have taught at this present school for 18 years. I teach 7 grades, ages from 6 to 16. About 75% of the children drop out after they complete the 8th grade. I think the main cause for this is the lack of money to buy their books and clothing. They don't have any future for good jobs. They just have to pick up jobs if they do not continue high school and college. All right, now children, you have read your stories, both 6 and 7 combined, and now I'm going to ask you to read your favorite paragraph. We're starting with Eugene. Would you read, please?
Look out, shouted Lucky. Then he stood speechless. She couldn't tell Mark what to look out for, but he knew. Dropping his axe and sprang back from the tree he had been cutting and slipped a little on the softening March snow.
All right, George, would you stand and read, please?
Mary Alice's Uncle Tom was penniless and had remembered that the well-to-do Mr. Riley had a reputation for being preacher and a friend to the needy. Uncle Tom's had come to beg the Radleys' hospitality for his niece.
All right, thank you, George. You may sit down now. Now, Donald, would you stand and read your paragraph, please?
He was never to see her again and never to forget her. Years later, he put her into a poem as Little Orphan Anne.
Now, we know that there's a force of gravity which pulls objects toward the Earth. There's gravity on the Earth, on the Moon, but the force differs on various bodies. And what the purpose of this experiment...
The age is identical, but the communities and the schooling are very different. These 16 and 17-year-olds already are performing experiments in college physics. They're students in the Scarsdale Public High School, which spends 7 times as much on each student's education as Letcher County can afford. There is no difference in the native intelligence of the children in Kentucky and Scarsdale. The difference is money, and money intelligently used for the best in teachers and educational programs.
Okay, we got results. Good for us. Now, this also can be determined...
Today, the nation spends almost $32 billion a year for education. But to give all American school children the facilities and opportunities you see here, it would cost at least $20 billion more. A large figure, but far less than we spend on gambling. But no amount of money can lighten the pressure on these young people. Pressure to learn fast, learn faster than the Russians, the Chinese, or even each other. The need ever to compete for grades, for schools, for scholarships. Education has become as competitive as the business world. Perhaps the greatest challenge facing us is how to absorb the ever-growing amount of basic information essential to control our mechanized world. Facts, formulae, theses, diagrams, theorems. There's a shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of hours to absorb all this. So we experiment with automated teaching, at least in some areas. The student regulates his own speed of learning. The machine constantly checks his rate of progress. If the student has questions, there's a telephone and a live teacher at the other end of the line. The machine, which already creates other machines, now teaches the human who may be its master, perhaps. There are numberless experiments in how best to transmit information, and at the youngest possible age. One of these is the Responsive Environments Foundation, which works with a private school in Connecticut. It is open to children of that school, ages 4 to 7 years. Jimmy is 4. He comes to the foundation for a half hour each school day, that is, if he wants to. He is never forced to come. The lesson lasts a half hour, and for this period, Jimmy has a teacher all to himself. He also has an electric typewriter. Sometimes a recording of the teacher's voice is also used. His fingers are marked in color, the same as the keys he should strike.
N-A-P. App. Nap. M A N. Act.
Man. M U G.
Mug. Mug. A-L-I-C.
At the age of 7, this child types 35 words per minute. She spells correctly, even difficult words. She also writes well in longhand. The children publish their own newspaper. They type it, they stencil it, they collate it.
V-E-R-Y, verity, I-R-E-D, tired, O-F-of-S-I-T-T-I-N-G, sitting, B-Y-Y-H-E-R, her. Down the rabbit hole.
By the time they're 7, nearly all the children read at junior high school level.
And having nothing to do, once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversation in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations?
It looks so easy, but even with a typewriter, learning never is. This is Freddie.
Listen, type these words. In. I know how to type it. You do? Yes.
I.
That's all you did. I did this already.
I said it. Listen again. Pin.
Pin. P. I. N.
And.
Carriage return.
Gay go gay go gay go gay. Gay go gay go gay go gay.
Space.
Jet. Jet. Set.
Yes. Jesus, I can type my name. You know, I can type my name. You want me to type my name? I will type my name because I know I will type my name. And I know with it. 2 D's. Now a Y at the end. Look at this. Oh. You know what that spells?
Tell me.
Chalk up another victory for the human race. Young minds are supple, eager to learn. The accomplishments of the young are bewildering. This 16-year-old has already designed and built 2 electronic computers. This one just to play the match game.
1. The machine now is permitted to pick up...
He explains its workings to his fellow students and teachers.
I'll take away 1 from this pile. I'm leaving the machine with 0, 2, 2, 0. Machine's turn. Machine took away 1 from this pile. That leaves me with 0, 2, 1, 0. I'll take away 2 from this pile and watch what happens. I've won.
Who wins? In our ever more complex world, the educated will win. Those who go to school in America's poverty pockets are at a disadvantage. They who enjoy the best teachers, the best educational programs, will most probably succeed. Negroes who generally attend the poorest schools have the worst prospects. The writing is on the wall. In the world of tomorrow, more than in the world of today, the unskilled and the uneducated will be the unemployed. There are more than 47 million school children in America in 1964. Our cities reach to the sky. Our national symbol is the skyscraper. The clean, stark line is the silhouette of our age. Daily we change the profile of our cities. We tear down, we substitute, we bring up to date. We seldom question whether the new is truly better than the old. We're the makers of the new world and so busy with it that we rarely take time to wonder exactly what we're raising. We face gigantic problems, but we do not let them interfere with what we're doing. The poverty that grips one family in 5 in this nation. The Negro who is not accepted as a full member of our society. The aged whom we cannot fit into what we do. The other man's children whose schooling is inadequate. The machines which ease our work but wipe out the jobs of others. We are not egotists. We are merely busy. We are not heartless. We just don't know what to do about these things. So we build. We're optimistic that the future will be better for everyone. And we do not consider that what we do not solve today will baffle our children tomorrow. Our blood is enriched by 10,000 years of man's history and experience. All the accomplishments of Greece and Rome, of Judaism and Christianity, and of thousands of civilizations and societies unnamed. We have used this heritage, and in this land achieved great power. But are we building a world that generations to come will look upon with admiration? Centuries from now, will they copy our style as we have copied those who came before us? Will we truly create a better world for our children? And if not for them, for whom do we work? Small wonder man is afraid of the very power he has achieved. Never before has man had the means completely to destroy himself. But man also has the power of life. Here a team of surgeons repairs a defect of nature in the heart of a child. The child will live a normal life. And surely, if man has learned that much, he can control the elements he himself created. We're a complex people living in a complex world, but we are men, and our civilization is based on the belief that man is filled more by love than rancor, more by reason than by ignorance, is more united than apart. We never feel this more than in crisis. The place is Dallas, the spot, another station to mark man's long march out of darkness. Like other stations, it marks the awful permanence of death, the senselessness of violence, the awful waste which one man's actions can impose. But it is a station, and to the memory of a man who in this life was not without controversy or opponents, and that all of us can mingle here is a testament both to the usefulness of his life and to our basic unity. During the daylight hours, the place is never empty. Some bring flowers. Many of the flowers are brought by children. Some add little notes like this one. Dear John F. Kennedy, I love you with all my heart. You're the nicest president I ever had. We all sorrow it happened to you. My mother and father thought you were the greatest. With all my love. P.S. I hope Mrs. Kennedy is all right. What we remember is not only a president or a young man in the fullness of life. We remember a man who knew us well and who constantly reminded us that we could not wait for the ultimate moment to unite, who assured us that we had the strength and the power to solve all our problems and that in our salvation lay the salvation of mankind. We remember a voice filled with the hope we desperately know we need and all too often fear we lack.
For it is the faith of this generation to live with a struggle we did not start, in a world we did not make, but the pressures of life are not always distributed by choice, and while no nation has ever faced such a challenge, no nation has ever been so ready to seize the burden and the glory of freedom. We will not reach that goal today or tomorrow. We may not reach it in our lifetime, but the quest is the great adventure of our century. We sometimes chafe at the burdens of our obligations, the complexity of our decisions, the agony of our choices, but there is no comfort or security for us in evasion, no solution in abdication, no relief in irresponsibility. And in this high endeavor, may God watch over the United States of America.
How fast the cycle has turned. It is less than 500 years since Columbus sailed across the uncharted ocean man called the Dark Sea. Behind him was a world obsessed with problems man felt powerless to solve. A world divided, weary with constant wars, filled with prejudice, too populous, too poor. Ahead of him lay an unknown much greater than he suspected. For Columbus searched for a new trade route and instead discovered a whole new world. It was not what he looked for, but it was what man most needed, the chance to try again, and in trying to achieve not only wealth, but dignity. How fast it has all happened. How quickly we find ourselves in a world beset by problems for which we have no solution. How much we have accomplished. How little we have learned. Like Columbus, we stand upon the edge of a new era. We are surrounded by difficulty, but we have more power than man ever had before. We doubt, we falter, but only because we are men. Man always doubts the most when he is most human. He was so created to seek, to try, but also to succeed. Of all beings, man is the only one God created in his own image.
1964 has been a special projects presentation of ABC News.